Hello and welcome to my studio. As you can see, I just finished a day of painting here, and I thought I would take this opportunity to show you what kind of paints I use. Some people have asked me, what are the materials that I use, what company I like, and there's a lot of things about acrylic paints that people don't know, even other professional artists and curators too. So I thought I'd give you an introduction. As I said, use acrylic paints, and the company I really love is Golden. I've tested a lot of companies over the years. I've been doing this kind of work since the late 80s, and I started with acrylic inks, which I absolutely love the flow. And that's where I fell in love with art because I'd finally found my voice, and it was that fluidity, that flow, the ever-changing spontaneous evolution of paintings that I really liked, and that's how I sort of developed my style from there, and it's grown, of course. I did learn how to use oil paints at the Vienna Academy of Visionary Arts while I was there, but I react to a lot of the chemicals that are used in the process, and so I much prefer acrylic paints. Plus, they dry much faster. And so because I work in an intuitive way, layer after layer after layer after layer, it's important that one layer dries before I add another. And so I don't want to wait 2-3 months or whatever before I start another layer on top. And so it's just a different process. So Golden is the company I absolutely love. They're professional. And what is the difference between professional and amateur paint or student grade? And then you've totally got the amateur paint. So for example, Golden is professional. I also have down here Basic from Liquitex. They have a professional grade one as well. They do the markers that I use, although I'm not as impressed with their professional acrylic paint markers as I am by putting the Golden in these empty markers that you can also buy. But the difference is the lower the grade of paints, including like those craft store, dollar store craft paints that you can buy, is that those are filled with a lot of fillers. They're full of chalk. So the colors aren't as intense, the quality isn't as good. This is not as good as the professional one, but it's great for the workshops that I sometimes teach. So that's why I have these, is for when I teach students, because the price of the acrylic ones is not one that you want to have, with kids' classes, basically, most of the time. There are different viscosities or thickness of acrylic paint, and my favorites are the fluid, which comes out like a cream, a heavy cream. And again, these bottles, they look like the craft, the craft store, dollar store paints. But this one, for example, the cobalt blue is $50 a bottle. So it's not the same at all. And the other one is the high flow. These are my two favorites. So the high flow is more like water. It's like ink. It's extremely runny, and it's not that it's been spread out or it's been thinned out. It has the same intensity of color no matter if you're using the fluid. This high flow, which used to be called airbrush, but you can put this in the markers I was just showing you. But I also like do a lot of pouring so that you're working with it with water or as water. You can add water to acrylic paints, but you don't want to add too much, because what happens is when acrylic paints dry, the molecules bind like, I'm not a chemist, but they become like plastic. Basically, they are plastic. It's acrylic, right? And if you put too much water in with it, those molecules won't bind, so that, eventually with the years, they might peel off the canvas. It won't be as durable or as long lasting. So you want to avoid using too much water, but what you can do is you can use an airbrush medium that's clear to add to your paints so that you can, thin them out. Or also, the third one that I hadn't shown you is the heavy body, which comes in these jars, or some of you might be used to seeing it coming in tubes. So it comes out like toothpaste, and it probably has, well, it does. It has about the same thickness as toothpaste. And some people use palettes to work with those, and thicken curves and texture and all that. So those are the three thicknesses. You've got the heavy body, you've got the fluid, and then you've got the high flow. Now, one I haven't introduced you to yet is This is also by Golden. I think they're the only company that does this. It's called High Flow. These come in tubes. If you like oil paints, but you want to move to acrylics, try these. I don't use them very much, but what they are is they take a long time to dry. If you want them to dry faster, you can mix them with the regular acrylics, but you can also, I think, mix them with oils. Not sure on that one. But these colors here, you can keep working on them for a couple of weeks. They'll stay wet. It takes a very long time to dry, which is why I don't use them. But also if you put them on a palette and you cover it up, it will stay wet for a long time. Whereas if you're working with acrylic paint and you put a dab on a palette, within an hour it might be dry and you can't use it anymore, which is great for some things if you're making paint skins, which is something I like, but not if you're thinking, you're going to pour a whole bunch and keep using it, go have lunch, come back. Doesn't work that way. So that's that. I also use a bunch of mediums, also by Golden. Mediums and gels, different kinds of gels. Some of this extends the fluidity of them. Some of them it's to add thickness and texture. For example, the glass bead gel I absolutely love because it refracts the light and it's just beautiful to carve into for me. I absolutely love that one. If I'm trying to carve and use a lot of texture, I also use the fine pumice gel, which is made with volcanic sand. I also like the energy that gives off. And clear granular gel, which is more of a clear but bumpy texture that I can work up and do stenciling through. As well as, the clear tar gel, which is like pouring down stuff and it just spreads for hours. That's what I was doing this morning. So it just spreads for hours and you don't quite know where it's going to stop, but it's clear and then you can work around that. And I just work with that. So any of my tree series where it looks like you're looking at through a birch forest, those would be the clear tar gel. Other mediums, everything from mica to airbrush medium, the varnishes, I always coat my paintings in 3 coats of varnish to protect from UV rays and also from dust and all that kind of thing. So be creative, have fun, and on my website you'll also find the 7 steps to intuitive painting. It's a free guide and just to get you started to play and mark making and layer making and seeing what works for you. So have fun. If you have any other questions, put them below in the comments and I'll get back to you. Thanks and see you next time. Namaste.